Welcome back to Valiant Hearts, and we're pricing you for the action where, the Zeppelin is crashing.
And it's not
Insert
about to let her
Sonic
father
Adventure
out!
go.
You're gonna
joke.
crash!
Ah! For once, I wasn't the one starting it. Wow, they actually did
Oh,
crash.
maybe your father might slip away from you,
Don't you
man.
just love to how in video games every time someone crashes an airplane or an airship, somehow they manage to escape unscathed? I mean,
Yeah.
you think they would get some kind of injuries, burn marks or something,
Well, we're just talking
tired?
Funny you
No?
mention that,
They-
considering we just saw the facial disfigurement page.
There's actually an interesting small documentary that there was one person right after the war who specialized. Oh no. Yeah, apparently there are still some German survivors, soldiers, so the French army is not really allowing us to go, so we need to do the stealth way by having, there you go, Walt distracting the guards so our brave herring can move and, actually rescue people, because, there's still human lives and shit. But anyway, hold on, this. Yeah, a Virgin statue, a Virgin Mary statuette. Of course, religious people on the front were, wanting some kind of sign for their still belief. And to give credit due to being a world war, there weren't just Christians on the front, but also Muslims, for example, or Hindus, due to the British Army. But what I was saying is, yeah, there is a sort of documentary video talking about a person that after the war, specialized in prosthetics and everything, created some sort of replacement, not replacement, but, helping the replacements. Yeah, I guess that's the right word for people who were disfigured for the war. Of course, being the time that it was, they weren't super perfect, but they did the job in giving the person, the dignity they were searching for. Because unfortunately, already in this day and age, a disfigured person may feel the weight of society upon him or her, because a lot of people tend to be judgmental, in case you didn't know. But for the time being, it was way, way worse. So, there you go. So there you go. The person we managed to rescue was still arrested, but at least his life was saved.
And he was grateful enough to tell us where our dad is.
Yeah. Again, that's one of the things I like about this game. Our our nurse character,
Oh, well, looky.
Yeah, doesn't put her country above anything else. So she puts instead human life, as a nursing figure should. So that's what I like. It would have been so easy for Ubisoft to go like, oh, front and everything, but no, they actually are good sports like that, and it's part of their job in showcasing this side of the war with more humanity in a front that completely lacked humanity on a lot of things. The countless victims were a side reason for that. There's a particular movie, I forgot if I talked about it already, but in case, there's a particular movie that talks about an event that happened actually during the war. It's called Je Noël. It means Merry Christmas in French. It talks about a particular part of the front that during the day of Christmas, both factions decided a ceasefire completely naturally, and they decide to actually, just fucking around with each other and showcase a surprisingly good amount of humanity with each other. Of course, the war had to be reprised the day after, but for just that one day, they managed to, find peace and discover they weren't so different after all. Aside from, as many songs and documentaries will tell, the color of their uniform. Anyway, one artifact here, as you can see, is a broken pistol called Parabellum, kind of like the subtitle for the third John Wick movies, which, as you can see, is taken from a Latin way of saying. I'm not exactly an expert in firearms, so I don't remember precisely what was the standard model, but if I recall correctly, the German favorite was the Walter Peak 838. Don't remember. Anyway, time for another puzzle where we need to save, one of the main characters.
It's gonna be easier said
But-
than done. Also, how ironic. He's important to another main character, but he's not this particular main character's focus.
It's one of the things that the game does in showcasing, you know, how these couple of characters are tangled together with the web of fate. It's
Yeah.
all part of the first 2/3, or at least the first half, where the stories of the war are told in this more, not fairy tale-esque way, but in a more not even whimsy, but as you can see, not in a completely realistic way. Like I said, events are happening still in.
I think the word you're looking for is gritty, too.
I suppose events are still happening in a logical way of things that will have happened. Like now, for example, a Zeppelin crashing. You know, people firing machine guns and mowing down, you know, entire platoons moving. That's stuff that happened in the war. But at the same time, you have more video gamey stuff, like the battle on top of Reims Cathedral, for example, which it looks less realistic like that. Or in this case, solving puzzles to solve the situation in sometimes a relatively over the top way. I can tell you already that the last portions of the game, not entirely, but at least the last couple of sections of the game, will stop this and showcase a side that it's a bit more closer to what reality actually was. But this is just foreshadowing. There is actually, I forgot if I mentioned, probably I did, but there's actually an achievement trophy if you manage to not screw up all the QTEs in the nursing QTEs in the final section. There you go. Unfortunately, our main bad general guy has fled away with the scientist. So unfortunately, we're still on the chase.
Oh, look at that. She's telling the dog to go get our pals.
And since Walt is a very good boy, he knows exactly what to do.
Funny, he's about to lead him to the very man he was looking to find.
Anyway, forgot to check. Let's see the diary. Ah, yeah, there you go, Karl. Like I said, we don't get we get updated only depending on the situation. Not all of them at once. There you go. But you can see you can kind of guess which character will updating his or her own journal depending on the situation. There you go. For example, Anne here is still, you know, searching for her father, the scientist, and hoping that we will not just kill him at the time, you know, when he will stop being useful. Again, this is another part of the more slightly cartoony narrative that is having, you know, this first part of the game, where the German commander general is portrayed like a Saturday morning cartoon villain, dastardly escaping when the situation, you know, is dire like that. Because of course, if it was relatively more realistic, he would have also died with the crash and like that.
Well, look at it this way too. At least it's not like in the 1940s propaganda cartoon where we're basically having Bugs Bunny beat Hitler with a hammer.
Wasn't that Daffy Duck, actually?
Or giving an anvil to a Japanese bomber. that was a big.
Was it Daffy Duck that did that?
Yeah, I'm
No,
pretty
no,
sure
it
it
was
was
not
Daffy
funny,
Duck
I
that
remember.
hit.
Oh no,
Hitler
yeah,
with
it
a
was
hammer.
Daffy Duck who slapped Hitler. I think you showed that to us, Pedro. I wonder if. Well,
Oh
actually,
yeah, it was. Yeah, Jeff was right. Yeah.
I wonder if that was made before or after. No, Ubisoft, I don't want you play. I wonder if that was done before or after their Furious Phase, considering the popularity of that. I wonder if Warner Bros. Wanted to go through it, to sort of chase through it, or it was instead the reverse.
Considering
Because
propaganda was a big
when
thing,
it-
either
when it
way
came
wouldn't
to-
surprise me.
But when it came to the propaganda cartoons, of course, the competition between the main big companies were complete. The Fleischers, for example.
Still no match for good old Captain America, of course, who literally punches
Punched
Hitler in the face in his very first comic.
Yes.
Yeah.
There you go,
Can't beat
sterilizing solution. Well,
You see,
that was exactly what he was supposed to do.
I think the beauty of
Yes?
Captain America is that you got Steve Rogers, a blue-eyed, blonde guy, literally working against the Nazis.
That was part of a propaganda job. That was showcasing also the fact that a person who was, by the standard of the German, German society, Aryan, the pure race, quote unquote, could have also, worked for the good guys of the time. It wasn't just a matter of race; it was a matter of loyalty and the common sense towards the country.
Heck yeah.
Then you have cases like the Superman Fleischer cartoon, where you reach the scene of a Japanese person who's building the biggest flying bomber. Damn it!
That was a really nice story, Lois. Thanks, but where were you? Oh, I must have fainted. Wink.
Anyway, your job here is to give a candle of dynamite from using Walt, and you're supposed to throw it to the fire. Unfortunately, some of the wonky physics can make sure that you screw up with the toss, as you have seen the first time.
Yeah, but yeah, I agree with you, Joe. If only Marvel back in the '70s agreed with you.
Yeah.
Basically, Shiroi, as you know, Shiroi, Captain America's backstory is that he punches Hitler in the face. Apparently, that wasn't good enough in the '70s movies, because they thought they would make him into a lazy dipshit who just drives around in a van. To give you an idea, Shiroi, in the second movie, and this is after he became Captain America, this is not even before, here's what he hears after he hears about a supervillain acting up. He says, and I quote, "Well, this sounds like a case for the FBI. A case for the FBI, huh, Steve? Yeah, of course. It's not like you're a superhero or anything."
Okay, what is wrong? There's nothing wrong with punching a Nazi.
There's
I don't know.
Let Captain America punch a Nazi.
Don't know what to tell you, Shiroi, honestly.
Marvel in the '70s was.
There we go. All right, this puzzle is actually rather interesting. You're supposed to move the lever in order to make the engine accelerate, so it can propel that flag with the pole that catches fire. Then you're supposed to lower it down, and before the fire consumes it completely, you need to throw the candlestick like that into the engine. Fortunately,
of course.
Again,
don't you know how physics work?
Yeah. Let's try again. Game. You're reducing me to be like how to basic. I'm throwing candles of dynamite constantly like that. There we go.
War for dummies.
Come to think of it, our partner kinda can count as Barrett, although he has both arms here.
Trust me, Shiro. Sorry.
There we go. Unfortunately, the rest of the French army found him first, which means he will be treated as a prisoner.
Victory had a bittersweet taste for Anna.
Oh well.
Karl, seriously wounded.
They're taking her prisoner too, dang.
Anna's father had disappeared with Baron von
And since we kinda knocked out some soldier, we were court-martialed.
cited for his bravery in rounds.
Thankfully, we had some ace in the hole, to, we're free to go back to the front.
Can you at least get a proper uniform this time?
Again, similar to what the movie Paths of Glory shown, as you see from our commentary, generals and commanders doing the World War I for the fronts were absolute dicks with no real respect for their soldiers' lives.
Suffering.
They were only just numbers that needed to be thrown at the front.
That morning, the arrival of the mail raised spirits.
Well, at least there's that.
But Marie's letter did not bring good news. In Saint Miel, food was scarce, disease was rife, and the number of dead was growing. Out of this grim news, however, there was one ray of light.
Thank goodness.
A photo of his grandson.
He's growing up so fast.
Standing on both feet and learning to walk.
Oh well, time's up.
Don't worry.
Yeah, we'll see you later.
I love how they couldn't even spare him a proper
So,
uniform for this
time to
freezing
write,
cold.
There you go, feeding sword. Yeah, we talks a bit about how the prawns were, replenished with supplies and letters. Mailing and delivering was a big part of the war. Obviously, not as much as conquering the trenches and everything, but keeping the platoons supplied obviously had its importance because, a malnourished platoon doesn't conquer anything. So, it wasn't really uncommon to have some minor camp stations for nursing and, provisions behind the trenches. Of course, this provided this advantage that if the enemy captured your trenches, they will also be capturing your supplies as well. But it was part of the war as well. But anyway, for this particular section, we need to find some pen and paper to write back a letter. Also, yeah, military decorations. Apparently, medals were given like candies during the war, like this, because of the different, distinguished separate actions that soldiers took in different occasions. And even a dog got it.
That is actually a thing, though. Like, animals, in some form of work can get awards.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, heck, a lot got them in
Metal Gear
World
Solid
Wars
5
1 and
also
2.
showcased.
Have you ever seen
showcased similar to that?
Sure. Have you ever seen Steven Spielberg's War Horse?
No.
Well, I think you should watch that one. It's if you ask me, it's his last great movie. It was back in 2011, goddamn. And even then, he made that shitty Tintin movie in the same. So,
well, I guess you can say that one. Well, no, that's not even the thing. The Tintin was supposedly this passion project. Weirdly enough, the passion project.
Well, War Horse was a passion project as well too. It was so clearly.
I didn't know that.
It was so clearly a throwback to old late '80s, early '90s movies. Those good old-fashioned sentimental type of war films.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. Although, but yeah. For example, a showcase of a dog used efficiently for military purpose, as Pedro can attest, also is in Metal Gear Solid 5, thanks to the little pup that you can recruit and then grows into a full dog that you can use for different purposes. I just say that.
Complete
You can
with
ask
his
him-
own
you
eye
can-
patch.
Yeah, you can order the dog to kill people in MGS5.
Such a good boy.
Well, in that case, folks, look forward to our movie commentary of Disney's Valiant. A movie that even
I
Disney
think that
may
was
have
one of
forgotten.
Wait, was that Fox that was acquired with the deal?
No. Disney owned Valiant from the get-go.
Oh, a set of cards. But I do remember that movie as well.
Yeah, it's essentially a movie about war pigeons.
Yeah, treated like they're, doing playing dogfights, basically. But yeah,
sorry.
of course, cards were one of the few, not hobbies, but relaxing times where the soldiers had during the trenches. Well, for his little time that they had between, each rounds. Anyway, go on.
But yeah, no, believe it or not, Shiroi, it gets worse. Guess what? In the first of those two Captain America movies, the only action sequence in that movie is Captain America throwing a pork chop at a bad guy, and that's it. That's the only fight scene in the entire movie.
That sucks.
That's what the sequel is for, though.
Oh, there you go. That the soldier asked us for a sock in exchange for, a bottle of ink, and we found one. Let's see if he wants it. But yeah, stinky and everything. He just wants to cover his feet. So we need to find a way to make it clean. To say that.
Yeah.
We still need the pen as well. So let's check the other side of the camp. Oh, look at that! They're washing dishes here. Maybe. If no one sees it, there we go. We'll come back here later. Oh, rations of bread. Let's see. Well, we'll come back here later as well. Oh, there you go. There's one of the war pigeons. Speaking of Jova,
There you
maybe
go.
if we can track, maybe if we can find a way to track him down, maybe we can find a pen in the the more uncommon way. So let's have Walt sneak in and get. Yeah, look at that. Even the soldier is enjoying that, sneaking in and get some bread for us.
Aw.
There we go.
All this just
And
to
there you
get
go,
a
he's left.
pen.
I mean, it's not the most efficient of ways, but it will do.
Now we just need to find some ink.
Again, we just need to hope that the soft washed out, decently, and we'll just give it to the soldiers. No, thanks, I don't need that. There we go. Apparently, washing the dishes makes also, your clothes clean as well. I guess they use the same solution.
Teo, come on. It's like I've made it clear in my independent, pretentious movie. A woman washes a dish. I mean, come on.
Also, there you go. We just need to dry it up, and it's good to go. There you go. Now we have also the ink.
And now we can make a letter.
His daughter. I heard from Karl. His condition is stable. He is still in the prisoner camp south of Reims. I hope to finally get permission to visit him. Thank you for the photo. It means so much.
Oh
Oh
boy.
shit.
Timing.
Another bombardment. So it's time to move.
Again, they couldn't have spared these guys some pair of uniforms for the cold.
A brazier. Basically a metal helmet. There you go, now it's time to move. Basically, when obviously, as you can see, when bombardments were around, the timing was everything. Obviously, soldiers needed to, arrange themselves with the best way they could, but yeah. Oh shit.
Oh boy.
Now here you need to wait until the bombardments actually create. There you go, wait for you to enter in. Yeah, we better not stick around here too much,
Yeah, I do believe it's time to go.
please. Why does everyone bury dynamite all the time underground?
Get
It
ready.
just spells trouble.
Because everyone wants a little
I
surprise.
think that's the idea.
Everybody's operating on Wile E. Coyote logic.
Well, again, as Total Recall said, get ready for a surprise.
Allow me to introduce. Oh, sorry.
Seems that they stopped, so it's time for the countermeasure, of course. Yeah, sure. And we got one of the whistles used by the officers. For some soldiers, it was the most dreaded sound they could hear.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue, Pedro.
Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Wile E. Coyote. Genius. I am not selling anything, nor am I making my way through college. So let's get right down to business. You are a rabbit, and I am going to eat you for supper. Now, don't try to get away. I am much stronger, faster, and more cunning than you are, and I'm a genius.
Why, you could hardly pass the education with the kindergarten. So I'll just
Exactly.
give you the next seconds to say your prayers.
Exactly.
Famous last words said before local man gets outsmarted by rabbit.
Oh,
There's still quite some people out there who haven't seen that short and always get surprised that Coyote speaks in that short.
well, it was one of the few times because most people, the Roadrunner ones, which are more cut and dry.
I love how nowadays we have the origin story saying that he wouldn't be allowed to speak until he found the Roadrunner. I mean, until he caught the Roadrunner. So nowadays
Not
the
to mention
headcanon is
sorry.
So nowadays the headcanon is that whenever we're seeing him speak, it means he's finally conquered the Roadrunner and went on to the next thing, which is also much harder, Bugs Bunny.
Not to mention, Joe, I remember there are people who still confuse the Wile E. Coyote also for Ralph the Wolf.
Well, that's the thing too. There weren't that many Ralph the Wolf shorts, so it's kind of.
So, yeah. Oh, there you go. Basically, just attaching the wheel. Now we can create a mini explosion just by pulling it here and then releasing for the firework. There we go.
It also has to do with the fact that that short was actually Chuck Jones actually made that short before Roadrunner became the hit that it was, and then after that he decided to just let's just have Coyote be a mute. It works better. And sets him apart from the other characters.
Granted, they did make other shorts where he did speak, though. Again, with
for the Italian version, sometimes they do minor ones because, for example, the instances where you need to read the instructions of the Acme gadgets. Obviously, they keep the animation for the papers in English, so they use this trick that they use for all the TV shows and series.
We did that here too.
Where we have some minor internal narrating that.
Personally,
but aside from that, not much.
Personally, I prefer watching Looney Tunes in English. No, you cannot replace L Blanc.
Well, obviously, but remember, as a kid, I didn't really have any other choice.
No, sure. Me neither, Teo. VHSs were always dubbed in Portuguese. I had no choice, so.
There you go. Basically, here using sticks, you can pull down the cart to your advantage to cover yourself from the fire. There you go. The machine guns.
Sorry. We actually do have a pretty good Bugs Bunny voice actor over here. Just not for all characters, sadly.
Okay. Okay, now it's time. We need to get up and ring the bell, but let's check down here first. Oh, a flag.
Flag.
Colored
Basically, these were used for signaling using a specific type of code. Nowadays, they're mostly used for plane purposes, like sending the directions or the type of plane that is having. There you go. What we need to do is to destroy the artillery lines in that. Well, it's time to go then. Yeah, sure. Just first let me get a grenade.
Good dog.
Well, for context instead here, Pedro, over the decades we have all sorts of kinds of different voice actors. Some decent, some not so much. The real kicker instead was the localization script, in a sense, because one particular thing, for example, is Yosemite Sam, and his very colorful insults that he usually gives to Bugs Bunny, and they managed to keep that very intact. Just by using Italian versions of the words, so I'm actually really surprised they managed to, keep that level of quality.
Well, that's what localization is supposed to do.
Anyway, there you go. Now what we need to do is to charge the cannon and fire here, if I recall correctly. But we need to reactivate it. We need to charge the single shell, then operate with the keys and everything. So there's a bit to do.
Allow me to emphasize this, Shiroi. That means that there is a Captain America movie where Captain America doesn't throw his shield one single time.
Remind me again.
There is also the Captain
Rep
America movie
Brown,
where he
right?
uses his shield to decapitate somebody. But
I
to be
remember-
fair,
I
that
remember
person was. To be fair, that person was a bad guy.
I remember I forgot which specific part, but the Red Brown one also has that scene where he uses that motor oil to make people trip. That was very stupid.
The Red Brown one is the one with the sequel, right? That's not
Yes.
MCU.
The sequel that has
No.
Christopher Lee for some reason as the villain.
Well, Christopher Lee would have walked in a lot of things, including that Sturba Werewolf Beach movie.
Yeah.
How do you like that, guys? Christopher Lee may not be in the MCU, but at least he got to be in a Captain America film.
As we say,
a terrible one.
as we say in my country, Jova, it's a fiend consolation.
Yeah.
Anyway, we only need that wheel, and when we should be able to operate the cannon properly. All we need will be knowing the coordinates. There we go. And also we need to load the shells, but that's where we loaded previously the ammo crate. Yes, we'll get on the phone. Give us a second. There we go. All that remains now is to move here. Charge the shell. No, Walter, you need to charge a bullet, not you.
That would have been heartbreaking. If not
Yeah,
a bit
launch
funny.
the dog.
Oh, and get this, Shira. You know how the Captain America shield, of course, represents the colors of the American flag, red, white, and blue.
With the star and everything.
You still there, Shira, by the way? Oh,
Guess
I
not.
Okay, never mind then. I'll wait. I don't think I'll ask if she heard me.
She's BRB'd.
She's burped
Yeah,
anyway.
I didn't
Anyway,
notice.
now we need to understand the coordinates that Freddy tells us. There we go. We need to be north of some trees and east of a well. No, not a well, sorry. There we go. Anyway, just knew this.
Precision
There you go.
firing enabled Freddie and his regiment to reach the rear
Speaking of
line.
Marvel, the animation actually does remind me quite a bit of Marvel's 1960s cartoons.
The military hierarchy heard of their feats in battle and
Thank
decided
you, I
to
guess.
decorate the two friends for their bravery. Emil received good news from Anna.
Oh, there you go. Karl at least is, despite being in a prison camp, he's doing fine. And she's keeping an eye on him.
Is he missing a
Meanwhile,
foot
the
or a
battle for
leg?
Verdun
No, it was just
rolled
rehabilitating.
Ah, okay. From that angle.
And the deaths will keep coming.
70,000 per month. Almost one Frenchman and one German every
Jesus.
month, and it went on for 10 months, day and night.
Incessantly.
May 8th, 1916, Emil's squad was sent on a mission to take back
Again,
Fort
give
Douaumont.
the guy a flipping
strategic
uniform
point
so
to
that
the
he doesn't
German
freeze to
defense.
death.
He's fine, especially with his trusty shovel. Of course, the British and French generals could not actually get along. What a surprise,
Figures.
by being allies. Well, I guess it's time for us to save the situation.
Mm-hmm.
For Douaumont, I don't remember this much about my history lessons. Obviously, being Italian and all, the part of World War One that was studied the most from me was instead the front that my country had against the Austrians on the Alps. Forgot if I said the specifics, but the gist of it is that we didn't really have trenches, by instead being constantly fighting in the mountains. So it was instead more of a game of sort of capture the flag, where the minor fortifications were built, sometimes excavated on the spot inside the mountains. It was very insane. We had an advantage in the forms of a specialized corps for mountain purposes called the Alpines, of course. But unfortunately, the incompetence of the officers and the generals were also rampant here, which procured a major defeat at a city called Caporetto, and only got things better after a single fight near a river that supposedly helped during the fight by swelling and drenching basically all the Austrian trenches, because otherwise they would have won. Go to there is a specific channel that talks about all these events in great detail. I forgot if I already shielded out about it, but just in case, remind me, Joe, because you were following it as well. It's still called World War One, or is it changed the name?
World War One? Yes, it's still called World War One.
All right then. Basically, is that
We don't
Now
have
instead-
anything to change it, I guess. Although it used to just be called the Great War until World War II
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah, the sequel that everyone wanted, I guess. Anyway, here it's a matter of excavating the right spot, avoiding the mine, and in case the deadly gas. There we go. Oh, look at that! A shovel artifact.
Oh, goody.
As I mentioned, shovels were basically as good as weapons back in the war, especially
Oh, yeah.
not just for excavating quickly the trenches, provides hand-to-hand combat. The American army made a perfect model that can be folded as well.
Well, it's not even just that. Again, that's basically how designers think. In the mind of a video game designer, what is a shovel? It's a stick with a piece of metal on it. What do you do with that? Why people with it?
You bludgeon people with it, like.
Yeah,
Like
you have to
any
remember
civilized
too, that
gentleman.
video game. Well, you have to remember too that video game designers have an interesting way of looking at things. So.
Okay, now here's
Can
an
I
interesting...
bludgeon someone with this?
Here's an interesting bit. You have to use walls, there you go, interesting methods, in order to, there you go, avoid the gas, and instead, smoke out the German soldier. Here, as you can see, there are a set of tubes that you can potentially, redirect in your favor. Oh, a concert program. There you go. As the artifact description tells, this was also one of the few things that kept some soldiers in, for example, some cities, happy. Well, unfortunately, some, partying too much procured, for example, the spreading of some STDs, which unfortunately in the end was, bad for everyone involved in the war.
Mm-hmm.
Bang. There you go. Find a way to redirect the smoke in order for the enemy to, be to leave a room, to leave the path clear for Freddy. And apparently these mannequins, scarecrows can help, but let's see.
Mm-hmm.
First, there we go. I think the idea, yeah, I think I do this first.
I don't know if you heard me earlier, Shiroi. I'm going to break it down for you. This means we have one Captain America movie where he doesn't use his shield one single time. Think about that.
Then why is it a Captain America movie?
I don't know, Shiroi. I don't know.
It's very weird. Again,
It's okay, Shiroi, because he uses it in the sequel. However, you know how the shield is, uses the colors of the American flag, red, white, and blue.
Yes.
That's actually forget that. No vibranium here. Instead, we have a plastic shield with red, transparent, and blue.
I think you showed me a clip of that.
Yes, it throws like a frisbee,
It was a shower of shit.
Again, it's weird because the 60s cartoon, for as much as weird and wacky was, it did capture the essence of the character and everything.
Wait, Captain
So
America
why
had
did-
a 60s cartoon?
Oh yes, Jova.
Jova,
it is amazing.
the 1960s Captain America cartoon is basically, much like the 60s bubble. Took the panels from the comics and animated them, and the voice acting and the overall timing and animation is amazing. Like,
Really?
There we go. Smoked out.
I'll show you a couple of those after maybe.
Basically, Jova, let's just say they took some stories from the Golden and Silver Age and ran with it as much as they could. But again,
boy.
it does indeed capture the essence of the character and his type of adventure. So why the fuck couldn't those early, live action?
Because
do?
because apparently, Teo, serving your country is lame. I guess.
Well, I'm not a fan of patriotism, but at least I know better for Captain America. Come on. There we go. By
Don't
sending
even get
Walter...
me started on Captain Britain, or Captain Spain, or Captain...
Well, aside from Captain Britain, I don't know any much patriotic representatives in the Marvel Universe, Jova.
What did you think of her, Captain Britain?
I liked both versions. The first one with the staff, and the second one, which is more Superman-like. I'm fine either way. I didn't read that much of Excalibur, so I don't know what to tell you specifically about that. But when it comes to the British superheroes of the Marvel Universe, I don't mind, like Black Knight. There's actually a reference to that in Spider-Man From Home, believe it or not.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Bonk. No, nothing. Oh, there is something here, another artifact. Fortunately, we need something more to proceed. What we find first was a wooden chest, which more, well, back in the day, chests were made for wood, which is more, convenient, because the other major materials that were used usually was paper, and, sorry, for the trenches, ambient wasn't exactly the best, to have. So wood was at least a bit more durable and resisted a bit more the soaking in the water or the mud like that. This instead is a gas stove. Yes, believe it or not, gas were actually sometimes stored in cans. It's as weird as it sounds, but it did work for the time being.
For the time, yeah, I can see that.
Again, World War I was very experimental in this kind of way. All those nations were finding some cool new toys to kill each other with. So of course they were experimenting, doing all the trenches wars.
Mm-hmm. It's okay, sure. Okay, that's okay, sure. Here, I have good news and bad news.
What's the bad news?
The good, well, okay, fine. The bad news is that in the 90s Captain America movie, all he does is basically getting the crap beaten the crap out of by everybody.
Yeah.
Except by the end, where he
that's
finally
pathetic.
has that heroic win.
Unfortunately, we just ran into the boss room, well, the German commander room,
Well.
which
Fancy
has
meeting you here.
apparently a Dr. Robotnik contraption.
Work that sucker to
okay
death.
then.
Come on now. Work that sucker to death.
So we need to find a way to disable it decently. Unfortunately, it's easier said than done. Basically, obviously, being a puzzle, we need to use the dynamite stick to our advantage, and there you go, and the flames.
Taylor's right. This also reminds me of that little flashing, killing light thing in Wing Fortress. That weird boss thing. Before we go to the death egg.
There you go. We need to use Walt to activate that lever.
It's okay, Tail. Did you get all the Chaos Emeralds before getting to one?
Unfortunately, no.
Then you're fucked.
Yeah, clearly. As Sonic Mania proved, I'm not really great at classic Sonic gameplay.
I believe in this game it's the Chaos Grenade.
Yes.
You mean the Chaos Grenade here, right?
The Master Grenade.
Jesus Christ.
But sure,
Anyway,
what about the Chaos Rings from Knuckles Chaotix? Which were never used ever again.
Where does Knuckles Chaotix even takes place? Like in an island somewhere?
In Angel Island, I think.
Weird.
I remember this was when various different teams at Sega just did their own take on the franchise without making any regards for consistency.
Well, I guess the contraption just got upped even more. Alright then. Sure, whatever.
Of course it did.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. Now we need to...
now it actually looks more like one of the bosses from Silver Surfer.
Thankfully, no repetitive droning out music here.
Well, I would argue the terrible cheap difficulty was more of a problem than the music.
Oh, definitely, but that's the thing, like, that certainly didn't help, so there we go. Cowards. If you don't remember, Freddie is basically on a quest for vengeance because the German general is basically responsible for something in his life.
He killed a friend of his.
Mm-hmm.
Oh shit. Well, that's a problem.
My name is Freddie.
Oh, there you go.
Oh.
To die.
Thanks, Professor. Yeah.
So we got him.
Yeah,
he
we managed to rescue him.
His design kind of reminds me of how Professor Calculus was originally going to look like in the Spielberg Tintin. In the Spielberg Tintin movie.
Feels too easy,
Oh
though.
shit!
Ow,
And
there
now
we
he's busting
go.
the entire tank. Okay, dude, there's overkill and then there's this. Jesus.
It's a tank with a flamethrower.
Really?
Yeah, a Warhammer 40k person like him would call that an hellhound, actually.
Yeah, that is correct. We can do a realistic take on Tintin and Haddock's proportions, but at calculus, no, that's too much apparently. I don't even
Well, to be
understand.
fair, his character looked very uncanny even for the rest of the universe. Remember, Tintin and Haddock looked relatively consistent on his own. I mean, in the comics, mind you. But Calculus instead had different proportions
The
and
Einstein head.
yeah, and due to the glasses, it had a bit more beady, not less beady eyes and more round looking, in that kind of sense. I guess it gave that effect, I suppose. I'm not sure you can replicate that with the god awful mocap that we did.
G-Tail. It's like they shouldn't have used mocap at all.
It's like it should have been animated.
Yeah.
Like a lot of these movies.
Well, Shiro, apparently mocap like that is dead anyway, so unless they still want to go for that Prisoners of the Sun sequel, that one is definitely dead thanks to Mars Needs Moms. So you can rest assured about that.
Yeah, fortunately, France knows better, and the Asterix recent films are fantastic.
Again, the only best of the
Didn't
bunch
France
to
also do
me
those live-action ones?
was Beowulf 27,
True.
and that was still bad, mostly due to how the plot was overall boring.
True, it is true. The French live action movies weren't. Let's just say we weren't great.
Anyway, here you have a time limit where you need to basically use that crate in order to activate a flamethrower, then toss the dynamite stick rapidly until it gets to the there you go. Unfortunately, you need to make sure he's instead on the right track. And like I said, you only have a time limit. There you go. Otherwise, you will get a game over. So. Oh shit. We jump.
Okay, now this is downright well a coyote.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Wild E. Coyote. Super genius.
There we go.
Well, someone's name is gonna be
Unfortunately-
mud after that.
Yeah, the fort was
Despite the fort's
There you
partial
go.
destruction, the Germans
Well,
held
fuck.
their position.
and supposedly Freddie was killed.
Along with Anne's father, it would seem.
Yeah.
Huh!
So having fun.
Yay!
It
Well,
gets
that was-
worse.
Well, and that was Valiant Hearts. I hope you enjoyed it.
Unfortunately, we're not quite done yet, so see you for the next part.
See you then.
See ya.